There we go. All right.
Okay.
So what question could I ask you? Combination of
Well, I mean, I kind of just wanted to go point by point and we can bounce off each other if you want. So like, I guess I'm a little bit more familiar with how these groups are. So I can ask you more of the open-ended coach questions.
Okay, go
Like
ahead. And then I'll try
if I
to
talk,
maybe like throw it back to you in some way if I can.
okay. Um, okay, so in addition to helping, sorry, hold on, scratch. So
Oh,
as we know that these groups are not helpful because they help us just to find more ways to avoid, which creates more reinforcement and makes the phobia grow larger and makes the person feel more powerless. If they feel more powerless, their self-esteem is going to drop, and as well as their social anxiety is going to raise up. So, in addition to that, we know that they're also introduced to more associations that they might not have actually thought of prior. So, one funny one that happened to me in particular, I had said to somebody on the group in the past, I mentioned the fact that you can actually get sick from your pets, from your animals. They can get stomach viruses and things like that. And my one friend at the time just completely freaked out because she has so many pets. And she literally was like, don't tell me. I don't want to know. She's like, now I'm going to be terrified every time my cat gets sick and I have to clean it up. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. But that's what happens between each other. You ruminate together like a giant brain that just ruminates over the problem over and over and over. You're
yeah.
not actually coming to a solution that's beneficial for everybody. It's one, the whole group in it of itself is like one giant ruminating brain that just creates more powerlessness
That's good. Yeah.
instead of coming to solutions to actually help each other. They think that they're helping each other. They think that they're coming to solutions, but the solutions that they're coming to are actually more of a problem. They're creating more problems.
It's like putting
It,
more logs on the fire.
yes, they're dumping kerosene onto the fire and creating emetophobia like on steroids.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but they don't know that they're doing that. So, and then number three is when you're in these groups, you can tend to feel more like a victim. And it's that learned helplessness. We don't really like to call it victim mentality anymore, but it's not like a martyr mentality. It's just you sort of feel like that thing is happening to you or it's happening to us, right?
That's kind of like the whole I'm addicted to cigarettes. I can't
Mhm.
stop. Rather than you're addicted because you think you're addicted and you can stop and you don't want to admit that it's a stupid habit and it's killing you. It's, this thing. I think maybe people want to feel like a victim because they're like, well, I haven't figured it out yet. Does that mean that I'm not smart? I don't
Right.
know. Like, I don't want to admit to that. I'd rather just hold on to my, I don't
Hmm.
know, pride, I don't think is the right word, but, and just be like, I've done what I could. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of that too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned the pride and ego aspect of it because that is the cement in the brick wall of a limiting belief system. It's that need that you have, and in this case, that is an interesting association connection that you just made because they might feel stupid. They might feel like, well, if I haven't figured it out yet and you have, well, maybe I'm doing something wrong, and then it goes back to the ego. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sometimes I
number
say
four.
smart things.
No, that's
What
okay.
were you
So
gonna say?
number, I don't know. We'll have to cut that out. Um, number four, rumination on a problem that you feel stuck in, and we know the ruminate. Oh, all right, let's cut the whole thing out. Wait a minute. Rumination on a problem you feel stuck in. I kind of already talked about that, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Ah, shoot, I didn't know I was out of order. Okay, crap. Okay, I'll just move on. So number five is that a lot of times the admins of the group or some of the people that are on there a lot tend to guard the people in the group from actually getting real help.
Ooh,
They
that's
tend to
true.
be very militant and aggressive. So why do you think that could be?
Maybe it's the whole protecting their tribe. They
Hmm.
feel like they're the chief, they're the head honcho of the tribe, and they might they might feel a sense of like power and
Hmm.
control being the head person who kind of runs the thing.
Right.
I mean, I don't know for certain. That's the first thing that popped into my head. They might think that you're an outsider and that you're
Hmm.
gonna take some of the members away.
Yep.
Maybe that's part of it. Man, I can't think of anything besides that. What about you?
Right.
What do
That,
you think?
yeah, I think they don't, it's some kind of unconscious thing that they don't want them to get well because it may, they might lose them. They might lose that collusion. They might lose their group members. I'm not really sure. I'm trying to think about the one that kind of did not like what I had to say. I didn't even mention the Thrive program. I I don't even remember what I said, but she associated me with it, I suppose. And then she wrote to me privately and was like, well, please don't write anything in the group anymore about that because not everybody can afford it. And I thought, A, you're not sure how much it costs. I know that for a fact from talking to you. B, anything that's worth value, especially if we're trained for it, is going to cost something. Even regular therapy, medication, other any kind of other interventions are usually extraordinarily expensive, especially when you come to like things like hypnotherapy. It could be $300 an hour, or
It
non-conventional
can.
things that
Yep.
insurance doesn't cover. So why is it that what I'm saying is wrong? Why is it that everybody can mention everything else?
Yeah.
It's
Because
like
it's
the one
different.
thing.
You
Mhm.
know what I would argue? I would go so far as to say it is borderline unethical that you won't let me share this
Right,
amazing life-changing thing that is backed by hundreds of research papers,
right.
35 years of clinical experience. It has 60,000 people who feel good or feel
Yeah,
great or feel
yeah.
amazing. I would almost go as that far and be like, are you serious? You owe this to your group. If you're
Yes.
truly running this group to help people, and it's not even like you were trying to sell them anything. Hey, we have this thing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Check it
yeah.
out. Rather than, hey, here's how you can swipe your credit card. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
that. I don't. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense to me.
Especially when they can purchase the manual on their own and take themselves through. I always say that. I'm like, listen, you don't want to coach, you don't want to work with me, that's fine. You know what? I
Yeah,
care so much about this that I wouldn't even mind if you worked with somebody else. I wouldn't mind if you got the manual yourself. Can you not afford, whatever it is? What is it? $50 to you can afford the iPhone that you're on right now. You can,
yeah.
and I've heard everything from, well, I'm homeless currently. I'm like, so you're an admin of this group. You're on here 24/7, but you don't have a job, you
Yeah.
know, um, you have an iPhone, but you don't have a job. I don't know. Anyway, I'm
It's
not
just
trying to
they're
be
just excuses because that's they're using that as a nice way to get you away from their tribe,
right,
get you out and kick you out.
right.
There are some people who probably really just can't afford it. They really
Hmm.
like if it's between that or feeding their kids, yeah, they're probably going to feed their kids first, and that makes sense to
Hmm.
I would say any sensible person. But the other people, that's just a nicer way of saying get lost. Um, and
I
I just
think
said it to
people,
somebody online yesterday, a girl who mostly speaks French, and I'm thinking in my head, yeah, maybe I could make this work, but this can be kind of challenging for some people because you have to put some work in. People who speak English as a first language, and I'm putting her first, thinking,
mhm,
no,
right.
she didn't say I'm ready to do this, but she wanted to know more information, and I'm thinking, buy the French manual. There's no
Hmm.
reason why you can't do this yourself.
Yep.
I don't know if we have a French speaking coach. I looked. I don't think we have anybody in France. That's not to say that people in other countries don't speak French, but we're not, we're trying. It was the putting her interest first. We're not doing it to
Right.
make money. You know, buy
Yeah.
it. You could probably do it yourself. Try doing that. And
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. People are just like, oh, what the heck are you trying to sell? And it's just
Yeah.
unfortunate.
It's a strange protection. There's some, and I saw it the other day when the one person made a video recording uh directed towards me, and in the comments they were like, go, blah, 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 and good job, and thanks for speaking up. Stand up for what's right and all this. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you don't even realize what you're saying. And that's okay. It's fine. It's just we just wanted to bring the point up and across that this is how it is when you're in these groups. They're going to keep you in it. And it's not because they're bad people, not because they realize they're doing it. It's just the thinking that comes with having emetophobia, any kind of phobia. You're going to be utilizing your thinking styles and your cognitive biases and your attitudes in a very unhelpful, powerless, negative way. And you don't realize that you're doing it. So it's a very innocent thing. They're trying to do what's right, but they're essentially shooting, I was gonna say shooting themselves in the foot, but it's not that. It's hurting more than helping. So it's what's that word? Not sort of like enabling, if you will.
that's
It's
exactly what
enabling.
it is.
So um not that emetophobia is an addiction, but it does share some of the thinking patterns and the obsessions and the compulsions that can be associated with like a negative habit, or as the world talks as the world calls it,
Yeah,
addiction.
yep,
I don't know a better word for it.
yep,
Okay, so number 6 is they will often together, different people will mention things like exposure therapy and different things that they have tried, maybe um, that don't fix the root of the issue as to why we understand that emetophobia was created. Um, or correct. Oh yeah, I kind of mentioned some of those interventions earlier, but um, it's almost like they're just desperately trying to stick band-aids on the problem. You know
yep,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
So, like, well, I tried this. Like the one person I was referring to earlier, she's like, well, I took myself through EMT training so that I could expose myself. And while that is a very brave attitude, that's a very thrivey thing to do. She didn't shrink back. She wanted to do what she wanted to do, but she's still making videos about it. She's still suffering in some senses. So no, it didn't, you're not cured. You haven't overcome this, and you're not loving your life. You're firefighting. You're just kind
yeah,
of doing it in a thrivey way.
yeah, yeah. It's too bad that I don't know why she's so adamant about like bringing you down.
Mm.
That's the worst part about all of this, is that you weren't being aggressive. You weren't saying, "Hey, we got this thing. This is what it costs. Do you want to do it?" You're trying to spread the word and just make sure that people know that this thing exists, that you know is amazing and helped you overcome something that was ruining your life.
Mhm.
And it's just unfortunate that there are these people who are like, get out of my comment section. Like,
Yeah.
if you do this again, I'm going to block you. And then spends 5 minutes just recording a video, like attacking you. Like,
Hmm.
but I guess we just have to realize this is what the internet is. Whether it's this or politics, those people are out there. It's just unfortunate that it's like if it was happening in the comment section of like a meme, that's one thing. We all know we're there to just talk about nonsense, and just the whole thing is just revolving around stupidity. But when we're talking about something like this, it's just it's unfortunate. I don't know. There's really nothing else to say about it. So I think that the main thing, like if anybody takes anything from this, is if you just stop being a part of those support groups and start like gently questioning maybe the validity of your question, like your worries, you'll be so much better off if you're just like, all right, that question that I really want to ask the support group, like I just
Mm-hmm.
had this, like, am I gonna die from this, from what I just
Mm-hmm.
ate? If you really
Yeah.
just take a step back and just ask yourself, what is the likelihood that I'm gonna die from it? It's probably not gonna happen. Even if I did throw up, it's not the end of the world. I could deal with it. I know I could probably deal with it. Maybe I could do whatever your answer is. That is so much better than just going and doing anything in that support group. I
Well,
I don't know.
I want to say that when you're in the thick of it, what you just said feels impossible.
Yeah, I
It
can see
it
that.
sounds like it sounds like a dream. It sounds
Yeah.
like, yeah, I wish I was there, but I'm not because they don't have the skill set yet. What you just said would be fantastic. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying don't challenge it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
happened to me, if I could share, is that I was just like that. I would call my parents in the middle of the night. It's a very external thing. These groups are a very external thing. They make you think that I've got to pick up the phone and call someone, text someone, tell me. I would say, tell me I'm going to be, oh, I did this even as a 5-year-old. I forgot to mention this. It was this reassurance thing. I had my own support group. I would go into my mom's room every single night. And I would stand in her doorway and I would say, like this, I'd say, Mom, tell me I'm going to be okay tonight. Tell me I'm going to be okay tonight. I can't sleep unless you tell me I'm going to be okay tonight.
Yeah.
So I needed that reassurance. And did that actually change whether or not I was going to throw up that night? No. But
Yeah.
was I thinking about it in that sense? Not at all.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense. It's not logical. Just because mom says it does not mean I'm going to be okay. She has nothing to do with what I ate that day or if I was exposed to a bug. So when when I would reach out in those groups, it did create some temporary comfort. And I think I think in the middle of a panic attack, what it serves to do is distraction. Because when you start focusing on reading other comments and you're focusing on what you're trying to write and how you want to write it out, like, hey, this happened today, blah 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 blah, your brain switches gears. And when
Yeah.
you can't really be in a panic attack while you're doing something else. Like, for example, you can't laugh and have a panic attack, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
side note is why sometimes I would put comedy on
Yeah.
because your brain can't function with those two pathways. But anyway, it serves as a distraction. So that might be part of it. But I want to say that as I went through the program, I realized less and less and less. I wanted to even open the thing up. I was like, eh. And you can ask my parents, I stopped messaging them. And even after I got out of the program, I was doing that a little bit. And then it just stopped and stopped and stopped. It just got less and less and less.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. It's not overnight. It's just you kind of realize I don't really need that. I don't want that. I got this. And that's where you want to be. So you'll naturally not want to be around that anymore when you overcome it. You don't want to be involved in that world anymore. When it pops up on your screen, you're like, eh, like I don't want to think about, you know, it's just a dark place to be.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
feels so powerless and helpless and you don't want to be worried about every single thing in your body because essentially it is like a health anxiety. You
Yeah.
don't want to feel like every little thing that happens to you, especially as a woman, you know, is is scary.
Yeah.
Just so I'm just so happy that I don't rely on those things. And I'm sure the people in my life are much happier that I'm not calling them in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say. Like,
Yeah. I remember calling my brother from Spain in the middle of the night and he was just like and it's like you're on for hours, until the panic attack is gone. Because with emetophobia, the difference between a panic attack with an emetophobe and a regular panic attack for most people is about 6 minutes long, physiologically. Emetophobia, it's until your stomach is emptied again.
Oh my
That
God.
can take 6 hours or more.
Oh my God.
So you might be having waves of panic for 6 hours. You might calm yourself down and then it comes back. It comes back again. So that's really difficult.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's like inside of you. You know, it's I can't. Can I not put more food? I can't. I can't eat. Can't. I don't know.
Mhm.
That's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, you think about it with everything. Like if your stomach is like, you could be super hungry and you can just start eating, and then 3/4 of the way, your brain, your habits will be like, oh no, you're starting to feel full. What if you get sick? You've already screwed yourself for the next 6 to 8 hours. Stop eating. And
Yeah.
then you start panicking. And that it really is just such a nightmare of a phobia. I mean, it's 3 times a day when you're eating, you have thousands of these thoughts.
Yeah.
So
God.
you don't want to be in a group that's going to make you think about uh, ruminate more on those kinds of helpless thoughts, those powerless, fear stimulating thoughts. It's just not helpful at all. So let's see. Number 7 is groupthink and mentality. So when it's sort of like the idea of, you were mentioning politics, it's almost like an echo chamber, right? You're not going to have somebody just in the group challenging your thoughts. Like, well, have you thought about it like this? Or maybe it won't happen this time. You're not going to hear that in there. You're going to hear a lot of echo chamber, right? Oh, I hate the fall season. It's terrible. Me too. Last year I got sick because somebody came over, and 3 weeks later the germs were still there. My whole family got sick and it was horrendous. Catastrophic language,
Yeah.
all the thinking styles, just ruminating and brooding and echoing, and then they start thinking like each other as well. So, and they
Yeah.
copy each other's behaviors and they're priming each other.
So describe what priming is in case people don't know.
Well, priming is, yeah, trying to think in this context, whether it doesn't really matter in what way that you say something, if you say it at all and it's relevant or active in somebody's head, whether or not they deem it as negative or positive, it's still there. So, one of the most famous examples or experiments that we have is the word study that shows
Oh, I
the
have it right
power of,
here.
what was that?
This?
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you have that. Can you move it back a little bit? Or it's a little blurry. But what there you go. What Matt's holding up is a really interesting exercise. So if you read all of those words and you don't really know why you're reading them, at the end of it, for at least 2 hours, you're going to think and act, and just your behavior is going to completely change. Well, if you look closely at the words, you're going to see things like slow and wrinkles and raisins and forgetful. I don't even want to say them right now because it's so powerful. Um, it's think of
Florida.
like,
False teeth.
yeah, think of it as the opposite in a sense of affirming yourself and proclaiming like positivity over your life. It's almost the exact opposite. It's preparing your mind for whatever that thing is. So that connection is so incredibly powerful. If you read those words, they go into your mind and your mind turns them into behavior because what you think about is how you behave. Um, so even if somebody mentions something that you don't think is relevant to you, the next time it comes up in your life, it's somewhere up there. And you've been primed to think that way. You might not even remember why you're thinking that way now, because it could have been 5 months ago that somebody said, this situation was potentially dangerous.
I'm
And
pausing
then,
for a second. Hang on.
okay.